Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Jack Kuveke with us today. He's a startup fundraising coach, GP at Jabroni Capital. Hilarious fucking guy. I really love his content on LinkedIn. What do I like about his content? I think there's like too much seriousness on LinkedIn, and the guy is just being very abrupt and different in his post. I'm not sure how long you'll stay on LinkedIn, Jack, before they actually ban you. Let's start with this. Other than a small intro about you, do you think LinkedIn will keep you there for long, or do you think they'll just shadow ban you or straight up cancel you?
I don't know. I've had some touch and go moments where I've been removed from LinkedIn temporarily, and then they claim it's like a security thing, but I would be completely unsurprised if it was just like someone being like, fuck this guy. So maybe my bet is that LinkedIn is has to compete with other platforms and will become more like Twitter over time. And so I figure, and also like to be honest, I almost don't care. Where I'm just like, it would kind of be hilarious if I got banned for like shit posting so well and successfully for so much time. But I've done a lot of things that I thought would get me banned, and then they've been my best posts ever. So like at this point, I'm pretty much dedicated to the game. If I get banned, I'll just go move to Italy and retire from the game entirely. It's like whatever, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's take this last post, for example.
Oh
Um,
boy.
I read this one today. I was like, okay, this is a bit on the edge there, but I,
Oh
I
yeah.
think we're just tired of like the cringy fucking stuff on LinkedIn. Like I went for an ice cream this weekend and 7 lessons I've learned from dropping the cone on my foot, like
For
what
sure.
was your thought behind that one?
This post?
Yeah.
So I do a newsletter twice a week, and most of the time the content in my newsletter is way edgier and like it's not content I would post on LinkedIn. I took this directly from my newsletter, and my whole thought process is just kind of that I don't give a fuck anymore. That like I think that polarizing and getting people upset is actually not a bad thing. In many different cases, I've upset people, and that has only led to more views and more reach. And I would say overwhelmingly, 98% of all the feedback or more that I've gotten has been overwhelmingly positive. This was the first post in a while that pissed some people off. Very rarely do I make people upset unless they think I'm serious, in which case that does make some people upset. But, I kind of just don't think you can care. And I think the right way to approach social media is to put stuff out there that you enjoy. And then if people don't like it, double down more. I don't think apologizing is a good strategy. I don't think you should like walk things back. So when I started this, I was like, I'm never gonna walk things back or apologize for something that I think is just me like an earnest joke. And if people don't like it and they want to block me, that's super fair. I've had plenty of people block me. And my response is like, they try and hold it over your head. They're like, you should take this down. And my response is, hey, totally respect your opinion. I'm not going to take it down, but if my content makes you uncomfortable, block me. And then they block me because
Right.
they want to try and push you to do something. But I think it's more of like people want to feel control. Um, and like that's why they get enraged by content on social media. And I just don't think you can really give into that. I think you can't give into like, you know fucking emotional terrorism from like some dork in the comment section. That's just like a weak-minded thing to do.
Yeah, you need to go all in. My thesis on that is just not to attract woke people as clients and people that would cancel me later on. Is that the same on your side? Like, because you work with startup founders,
Yeah.
so do you want to work with your very best ICP? One and two, have you thought of offering this as a service, your humorous posts?
Yeah. So answer the first question. Yeah, my whole thought is like I hate making content normally. This is the only form of content I've ever enjoyed doing consistently. And so I have to double down on this. Otherwise, I won't do it. Like I've tried doing serious posts. In fact, the first post I ever did was announcing a fake VC fund called Jabroni Capital. and it immediately went viral. Like I was writing a serious thing, I deleted it. I wrote a fake post in like 10 seconds, a shit post. It immediately went viral. And I was like, okay, I'm going to double down on this and keep going. And my whole thought process was like, I'm going to attract the people that like this, and I'm not going to attract the people that don't like this. But the reach is so overwhelmingly good that it doesn't really matter that I piss some people off. And I think, they probably wouldn't get along with me in person anyway, so it really doesn't matter. And I wish everyone well. I don't take offense if people don't like it. I don't take offense if people don't want to work with me, and they don't think that I'm legitimate. But like businesses for me has literally never been better
Yeah.
over the last 3 months. So like I just don't care. Like I'm just going to keep doubling down on what's working and attracting the people that I want to work with. And then to your second question of how I consider doing like meme posting as a service, yes, but I don't think it pays that well. That's my main concern.
I wouldn't
Like,
agree with that. I
yeah,
think
but
you
like
get a shitload of money doing
how
it.
much though? What would be my hourly
Probably
rate?
like a recurring 5K a month. And yeah, I'd love to partner with you on that one and get you clients. I'd take a
How
20% cut.
how much do you think I could charge? Like, how much will the hourly work for 5K though? That's my question.
5K, we could get out, yeah, at least one post a week that is getting decent tractions like the one we're seeing here.
If we could do 5K for one post a week, that would be reasonable. The only problem though is like I don't have a ghostwriter. I don't have anyone that does
Oh, it
creative
would be
content.
you. It would need to be you. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, this can't be outsourced. A
for
woke
sure.
AI LLM even wouldn't do it.
No chance. People have really tried, and the content by AIs has been absolute garbage. So I wouldn't even attempt that. It would have to be me. If I were, it really comes down to I'd have to make at least basically, I don't know, ideal over $1,000 per post probably, and then it would make sense for me. So like that sounds maybe reasonable, but that
Yeah.
would be like my minimum.
It'd be challenging also to start from scratch, don't you think? Like from a profile that has zero traction, people would be like, what the fuck? So we'd need to go like really controversial on the first one. What's your thinking or mental model on coming up with a post to go from 0 to 1 very quickly on LinkedIn?
I think the reason it worked for me is I didn't have a big following. So I had like maybe 1,500 followers or something on LinkedIn. They were all people that I knew, obviously. So maybe I had 2,000, maybe 1,500 to 2,000. So I had almost no reach. If I did a post before, maybe it would get a couple thousand impressions, which is pretty standard for someone who has a couple thousand followers, maybe a couple thousand impressions on your first post. The first shit post I ever did got 280,000 impressions and 1,500 likes. I think that you have to make it has to be legitimately good satire. um it has to be something in your niche that's relevant, and you have to like basically it has to be in line with your sense of humor that your existing followers or your existing people know you for. So if like you have a certain kind of style or wit or charm that your friends know you for, even if you have 1,000 followers, if people come on LinkedIn and they see that you've done a post and it's fucking hysterical and it's in your voice and it's like in your niche that everyone knows you for, and it's just like legit good satire, you're probably going to get really good engagement. You might not get the same level of engagement that I got on my first post. That was probably a mixture of luck. But I think you can, if it's just good satire and it's in your niche that you have even 500 or 1,000 followers for, you can get way better reach than you would on like a typical serious post, as long as it's just well written and good satire and like legitimately funny. It just has to be good. Like the amount of I have people that reach out to me all the time being like, yo, bro, I do the same kind of shit as you. What do you think? And then like, why isn't my post getting reach? And I'll look at it and I'll be like, it's poorly written. It's just not funny.
Hmm.
You gotta like you kind of just have to know what's funny and what people are gonna like. But if you do something in your niche that's legitimately funny, it's probably gonna get pretty good reach, even if it's your first post.
And how did you get funny on your side? You started, uh, believe building like Minecraft stuff. So you've always been in the culture of memes, I guess. What points of data do you get nowadays to refine this funny algorithm of yours?
Yeah, I always wanted to be a comedy writer and a comedian. Like that was what I and then Minecraft servers just worked out. So like I was building Minecraft servers for fun in high school, but I really wanted to, I was like planning to go to college and become a screenwriter and like write I wanted to write for South Park. I just always was obsessed with South Park satire, and I loved comedy. And to this day, like the only like content I really consume is from comedians and like comedy podcasts and stuff like that, listening to specials. And so I've always been obsessed with comedy. And I've also always been pretty self-aware where like I'll put something out and go, oh, this is bad. Like this isn't funny. I know when a post is underwhelming. I have a really good sense of like when I put something out, I'm like, I just need content today, but I don't really like this. So I think those two factors, like I've always been riffing and trying to make my friends laugh. Like I'm unserious. Like if you meet me in person, my favorite conversations are when I meet someone who just doesn't like to be serious like me, and then we have like a 3 to 4 hour conversation and we say nothing serious and we don't learn anything about one another. We'll just like riff off one another, get into like some 3 to 4 hour long-winded bit, because like I just would like to be in bits and characters and do goofy stuff all the time. So I think that's just why it works for me. It's like my favorite hobby and my favorite way to like fuck around in my free time. And then I've also just observed the tech industry for a decade now and like seen what VCs do, raise millions of dollars, raise crowdfund. I've raised a $53 million ICO. Like I've just had crazy experiences in the tech world and done a lot of things. So I've had exposure and I've just paid attention. And so like it was like those two things together are probably why this has worked so well.
Hmm.
But it's definitely hard to replicate.
Yeah, and you are letting yourself loose also. I think that's a quality that not a lot of people have nowadays. Everyone has this filter.
Yeah.
Everyone has this fear of being judged or being canceled. I guess this is getting less and less popular with the anti woke
Yeah.
movement. But yeah, it's always like, oh shit, will this earn me bad press? What about my reputations? I think
Yeah.
this is great. If you're onboarding like a new client, let's say that we would do this as a service for new clients, what kind of question would you ask them? Would we be like how extreme are you willing to go? How much filters do you have? What words can't we not use? Or we would require them to be all in from the get-go.
Yeah, that's the problem is like if there becomes a really strict editing process, it's not worth my time probably. So I think I would need people to be bought in, like look at my posts, and if they like the style of posts and they like the level to which I go, obviously I don't need to do the very extreme ones, like smoking crack or making fun of a father who used his baby to promote his business. We don't have to do that. That's pretty easy for me to avoid. But like if ballpark my posts resonate with you and you like this style, that's all I have to offer. I can't really slim it down and dumb it down for people. And I also don't think dumbing it down will be effective. So I would need people to just be like, they're bought in and they want this style. And aside from like, there couldn't be a big, you'd have to like be a final review. There would have to be like one review process for a post. And even then, I probably would be unhappy because I could just write more posts for myself. The reality with like if I write more posts and do more banger content for me, my business will grow. I'll make way more money and I'll just have way more opportunities to do cooler stuff.
Yeah.
So like the thing I'm always oscillating between is like I could focus time on helping other people write funny stuff, or I could just do 2 hours a day extra of writing for myself and just suck up all the views and attention and fuck everyone else. Like that's the battle I'm having internally.
Right. And what's your business model now? Do you charge per month? And yet, like one post, can it earn you like three ish clients every time you get viral?
Yeah, so my current model right now is I do coaching flat rate. People pay me up front for a set number of coaching sessions. It's
Yeah.
typically 10 coaching sessions for our flat rate. And we work over the span of, 10 weeks typically. So I have 18 clients right now. I can probably get to 20 before I'm capped. So like we've got a couple in the pipeline that we're likely to close in the next week or two, and then we'll probably be capped out for the time being. And that's purely just fundraising coaching. So It's not super analogous in terms of like how many clients I get per post, because to your point, my real goal is the real goal of my content is actually to grow my newsletter, and like getting coaching clients is secondary because I can only handle so many coaching clients. So if I got like 50 legit leads that were like high intent and willing to pay, I couldn't service all of them. I'd have to go hire and outsource coaching. I have like maybe one or two people that could do that, but I don't have that many. Um, so the reality for me is like I'm more interested in using social media to grow my newsletter and my brand. And then from there, those people end up being my clients if they follow my content. So I'm not that, you'll see that like I have one post maybe a month where I promote my services. And I might stop doing that entirely because like a lot of the leads I get if I promote on LinkedIn are end up being like low intent and low quality. And it's better to get people who follow my content and then subscribe to my newsletter. Those people end up being high intent. And then I just naturally get way more referrals as I continue to grow.
Right. So let's call it at 18-ish clients, like 80K MRR on that one.
About half that.
Okay, that's pretty nice. And once you'll be capped out, will you refer these extra clients to someone else and take a cut?
Yes, probably. Or I'll probably hire someone in-house. The one problem with my brand is that people, I don't know if this is fully true. My hypothesis is that people want to work with me and they're interested in like my content and style. So I haven't, the only risk factor I see right now is like, can I get people to work with a different coach and not interact with me? If I can do that, then this business scales pretty well. If it doesn't, if I can't do that, then I just have to charge more and be more narrow and niche. Um, but between you and me, I really don't like, I don't have a great ambition of being a like fundraising coach for the long term. It's very much a means to the end to use it as a way to cash flow enough to grow the content business that I'm doing right now and like
Okay.
grow Jabroni Capital newsletter and brand.
Okay, and the content business, how does that one become a business? Sponsors and shit. So
Yeah, sponsors, products as well. Like if I had a niche product to sell to founders, my audience is like 80% founders. So like doing sponsorships with like Carta or Sidecar or something that's like high value, where it's a high ticket item and you can make a really good rake on that for just one referral. I think that probably makes the most sense in terms of sponsorships. And then like I can start doing ticketed events. I can start doing like there's totally an angle for merch. I have literally had thousands of people reach out to me for merch, and I just have been distracted. And it's like cool money, but not that great of money. But I really need to do it. I just don't want to have to. I want to just outsource that entirely. Um, so that there's like you could just do it. It's like it becomes a media company at that point. So you make money the typical way you make media. But the real way to make money is like if I had some niche software product that I was selling, and then I could just get 10,000 people paying a monthly, that would be probably the best way to make money.
that would be the Jack brand, not the Jabroni one.
I think that would be the Jabroni brand ideally, but it could be either. It doesn't really matter to me. Whichever one drives users to any like to me, it's not. I want to build my personal brand, but I'd also like to build the Jabroni Capital brand and eventually bring in writers and other content creators into Jabroni Capital and make it like the classic, like the way Liquidity is done or Friday Beers or any of the kind of like niche comedy satire brands on like Instagram, Twitter. Or, there really isn't many on LinkedIn. That's kind of why I'm having success right now. But
Yeah, I think it's a gold mine. Why don't you do a podcast also?
I would like to do a podcast. The thing I wonder about is what do I want to talk about? And like, do I want to do an interview podcast with people? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, really.
I
But
think like just someone asking you questions about the post that you wrote, or just you and your character would be pretty damn fun, and then cutting YouTube shorts out of that.
oh, for sure. That's what I would like to do. If I do anything, it would be like in character, just purely satire, like and you know, I'm just mostly ranting and riffing about random bullshit that comes to my head. That's a lot of fun. I did one of those as a test case with a buddy of mine. Um, and he had no following and it still went really well and we got really good views and rates on the social posts that we did around that. So I think like a fake podcast where I'm in character, that would go super hard. I'm very down for it.
Right. So, okay, this year you've got that, you've got the fundraising business, potential sponsorships and so forth. What's your day to day like? How do you segment your day and get productive, quote unquote, or do you just free flow?
Yeah, no. So I do my writing in the morning. So I write newsletters and posts in the morning. So typically I have like 2 or 3 hours book block for that. And I'm trying to be even more like efficient and like productive in those hours. And like I just need to like commit to writing a certain amount every single day. And if I do that, things go really well. And if I get lazy or I get like writer's block and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like writing anything or I don't have any inspiration coming to me, you basically just have to force words out of your brain on paper. And if you do that for 2 or 3 hours a day, things will go well. So that's the beginning of most of my days is just like dedicated writing time. I sit down with a partner, I write for myself by myself, and then I bring in a partner of mine to like riff off of the like long form content that I've made to add, make it funnier, fill in gaps. And then the rest of my day, typically from like 12 to 5 or 6, is coaching. So then I have typically on average like 5 or 6 hours of calls every day with either clients or sales calls. And that's the majority of my day.
Do you consume VC content that you would troll afterwards after? Like, how do you consume the next new stuff and come out with
Yeah.
jokes out of it?
This is the hardest part because I hate social media and I don't like being on it at all. And like, I don't look at LinkedIn at all. I barely look at Twitter. I've started to have to consume more. So I try and dedicate like an hour or two every week to like reviewing and looking at social media and like taking funny things in. But then I also have a lot of people that send me stuff. My favorite way to get content is have people scout for me. And then I have my business partner will like send me content and ideas as well. That's the primary way that I get content to talk about, which is the best. Like in an ideal world, everyone would just send me shit and I go, we're talking about that. We're going to do that. But most of the time, there's also some like, there's like one or two big things happening in tech. Like last week, it was like OpenAI's changing up their board to for profit. Obviously, we got to talk about that. That's going to happen. So for us, it's like always have some form. There's always content to be joked about, and there's always some big thing happening in the tech world at any given point in time.
That last image was pretty fun. Isn't she a porn star?
She is, yes. This is my favorite meme I've ever made, hands down. This is my greatest work. This is my magnum opus. I will likely post that on LinkedIn this week, and that might get me banned.
Yeah, and that's interesting, right? Because I'm listening to the latest book of, I think, yeah, Twitter getting acquired by Elon or some shit like that. And I'm at the chapter in which they shadow ban Trump, and it's the rules are being written on a daily basis, and
Yes.
you're likely gonna face a LinkedIn committee of 3 to 4 idiots wondering if this is uh, not following the rules. So, and Twitter, you're building your presence there. So, are you planning to be more on Twitter? What's your take on Twitter vs LinkedIn?
My only challenge with Twitter is that you have to engage in other people's posts way more. LinkedIn, you can pretty easily not like comment or engage with anyone's post and grow effectively. That's basically, I have like 2 or 3 people that I comment on their posts because they're buddies of mine. But like Twitter, I almost do. I don't like to comment. I don't like to go on it. I think it's a hellscape. I think social media is really terrible for people, but I like to use it, and I think being funny on it's the best way to use social media. But my problem with Twitter is if I want to grow, I have to engage with way more people's posts, and that's not something I really want to invest time in right now. But I've started to do a little bit more on Twitter. I'm trying to like post maybe once or maybe once a day, maybe 5 times a week. But it's really, really low effort for me.
Thanks for today, Jack. Where can people find out more about you?
Jack Kuvek, you can look me up on LinkedIn. You can go to jabronicapital.com to check out my newsletter. Those are probably the two best ways to find me.